And because of this, nationalism is rising because when we actually bring people here, what, what I would like English people and other people to know why Sweden is so fucked, and it's just because the Social Democratic Party. The Social Democratic Party was trying to like build a secret empire, sort of social. Basically, they recruited socialists and communists through the Cold War. You know about all the wars in South America, the socialist revolutions, and so on. The Social Democrats
Yes,
took,
I have a decent idea.
yeah. Pinochet was bad. Let's save all the socialists from being killed by Pinochet. So when Pinochet was killing them, we brought in all them because the Social Democratic Party still has a slightly communistic tendencies. So basically, they and Palestine. Okay, Palestine had used to have lots of labor unions on international socialist groups. And Iran and okay, here's the thing: Iran and Egypt and even Saudi Arabia used to have socialistic groups and sometimes labor unions that were connected to the uh, international whole international working class union. No, the international workers, the socialist groups, but a subset of all these were also purely social democratic. There were also like a subset or a sub network that was purely social democratic and not strictly communist, but still connected. But the social democratic network coexisted and worked with Soviet and China and all this. And because of this, they like Muslims. They like Muslims and South Americans. They like the socialistic South Americans, because the whole point was that they wanted to bring in socialists from South America so that they could work and contribute to the socialist Sweden, make Sweden more socialist. Because the Social Democrats they thought that they could make people more socialist. They originally thought that social democracy was just a stepping stone to full communism, to a society where no one works for money. Basically, everyone are equal. When there's no private industry, everyone a society where everyone earns as much as anyone else, and everyone works primarily because of moral reasons and not because of profit. And everyone works the same. And a society where there's no capitalistic competition at all. There's no and people are inventing shit simply because they are smart. And so state capitalism was just a stepping stone to do this. But in reality, people want more and more. People wanted more state capitalism and less state socialism. If you get what I mean, it's a managed socialism. Sorry, managed capitalism. If you try to regulate and tax capitalism to create socialism, then you just create more capitalists. People get comfortable and they want more capitalistic stuff, and that's it's not enough. So basically, we have these families. We have these ethnic families. We have lots of Muslims. We have lots of socialist Muslims who are more secular, and we have South Americans. Lots of South Americans, and of course, lots of blacks. Because there were lots of black socialists that the socialists wanted to bring over here, and their whole stick is that okay, they are more communist. Okay, these families are much more left than the Swedish population. People from these primitive countries, they are much more socialistic, anti-capitalistic, much more classically extreme. Here's the thing: the communist party is basically all about the children. It's all about the ethnics, the Swedish ethnics, the colored ethnic, um, the colored ethnic community that is like second generation, third generation, so fourth generation. Uh, there are very few of them because they came here because of they came here before for EU before the Barcelona Treaty, which forced Sweden open. Essentially, Sweden is like Japan. When the Westerners came with a big ship and threatened by gunpoint, open your country to trade. That's basically what the EU is doing. And I'm trying to tell you that there's a difference, important difference between the colored minority that came here before EU forced migration on us. Because when EU forced migration on us, it was Islamization. Islamization came here and we came. It was specifically religious neo Islamic migrants who came here, and the old are like they are like slightly they're not less they are less religious. They are slightly religious, but mostly they're socialist. They're super socialist. That's the whole thing, and they're much more socialist than the white socialists. And basically, all these the Green Party. Okay, the Green Party is mostly black. It's mostly black and brown. It's mostly colored. It's mostly colored. The left party, the former Communist Party, the party which used to be the communist, they are mostly colored people. And let's see, yeah, the Radical Feminist Party, that's mostly colored people. So
I see. Well, fortunately in Britain we don't have the likes of the Extinction Rebellion left getting control of power anytime soon. We have that point of consolation at the very least.
I will describe the future development of my country in very simple time. It the Swedish country will do what it always does, and that is that there happens the people are rising up, and then the authorities change, and then the revolution is enforced by an authority figure. In Sweden, every revolution is forced top down by a strong leader, by revoking freedom, individuality, and so on. For it doesn't matter who. It's nothing is happening like in other countries where shit happens from the bottom up. No, it's going to be a new authoritarian government. Sweden is getting an authoritarian government, and the authoritarian government is going to remove the freedom of the people because that is what the Social Democrats did. When the Social Democrats came to power, it was the last previous social revolutions, the last paradigm shift. The Social Democrats came into power. They abolished people's freedom and individuality, and they enforced socialist policies because that was the revolutionary new idea at the time. Before them, it was the whole Enlightenment and 17th century thing. Uh, even Swedish democracy was created by the kings and the aristocrats. It was forced through from above. And even further back in the Enlightenment, around the French Revolution, okay, when the Industrial Revolution came to Sweden with the French ideas, it brought in the French ideas and mixed them with English ideas about science and better utilitarianism and so on. It was adopted from above. So basically, we always replace our leaders. We replace the inefficient leader with a better leader. And the better leader is going to be one that enforce these new needs. And then we are going to have a new state capitalistic society that is as tightly controlled as ever, as all the previous governments, but with a new policy. With some new policy, and that government is getting rid of migration. Because, uh, okay, the Swedish people now have experience with other cultures, and given the fact that they are so accustomed to their old worldview that they're going to be super racist. They're going to be super racist. They're going to be super ethnocentric because they were always super ethnocentric. They just thought that all other cultures were just the same as their own culture. When the Swedish population is like exposed to any sort of real diversity question on the norms, they're going to gang up on the Muslims and the migrants and the socialists hysterically, you know. And
Politically, politically, Mofo, politically.
not just politically, but it's like they are Swedes are forming. Okay, Swedes are not using taxi drivers as often. They form networks where they give rides to each other's families, and so they don't have to use taxi drivers because taxi drivers are black or Muslim. And women don't go out as often. Okay, and the wealthy Swedes are moving out of the cities and buying houses on and form new communities or reform communities. Basically, there's like white flight from the cities, but it's like white influx to the countryside, and they're going to buy more guns. There are more vigilante guards now. They're going to be vigilante guards, and townships are hiring private police force. They're like more and more private police force. Okay, they call them security, but it's essentially privatizing of police. The police is going to be privatized. There's going to be more and more push for private police force, like that's because
I think that's a great step forward. An absolutely great step forward. Diagnosing an issue and then taking the appropriate action to deal with it.
and here is the fucking thing. Race matters a little bit, at least. Because if people don't want, it's very simple. Do people want to be black or do they want to be white? If they are white, do you want to have the skin color that you have? And do you really want to fuck and marry people who have another skin color and looks differently than you? Or do you want this sense that you are marrying someone who has the same skin color and therefore the same ancestry as you? So someone who is European. And I think that here's the thing, when it comes to family, the big thing is family values, because Swedes are not dating blacks. Swedes are not dating. Okay, women date blacks and Muslims because probably I think it's because they are passive, but there's no popularity, and there's lots of talk. Essentially, there's upset feelings, lots of pressure. There's lots of pressure that we should raise mix. And essentially, it's the lower class poor whites are race mixing because they can't get anything better. And there are lots of migrant women, and women go directly into prostitution, and they go into prostitution and so on. And people, they're never going to be accepted here. They're never going to be accepted because they are not white. They're not white, and they're not beautiful, and that's it. And the big thing with the whole fucking family thing is that whites do not are not going to marry Muslims consciously. Well informed white people are never going to marry or breed with these Muslims because Muslims want to marry according to Muslim marriage and Islamic law, and Swedes don't want to. And the Muslims are trying to force their traditional bullshit, their religious marriage, to be as equally valid to Swedish marriages, because Swedish marriages basically are completely secular. Okay, a girlfriend and a boyfriend, that is basically a marriage. Same legal obligations and so on. So you can lose half your stuff if you leave your girlfriend, etc., etc. So it's a completely different way of thinking, and it's not going to. They're not going to last. They're not going to last, and the Swedish population is so extremely secular and anti-Muslim and anti-religious. So the biggest reason people hate Muslims above everything else because they have this different view on sexuality, and they don't respect women. Uh, Swedish culture is essentially this: a woman can fuck anything, and we don't think less of them. But at the same time, they are kind of expected to form families or children anyway. So it's like we have these assumed family values. People are assumed to settle down. People are assumed to form monogamous couples, be a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and make children and so on. And then and women it's very important that women choose their own partners, and it's very important for Swedish culture that men and women are somewhat equal socially. For example, if you have a relationship with someone of a lower social status, that is seen as injustice. Very well, if you have someone who is younger or older than yourself, it's very looked down upon. For example, the age of consent is very low. But if there is an age difference, you can still be sentenced simply because it's seen as some sort of inequality or exploitation. And the Swedish people are extremely shocked by the Islamic view on sexuality and women. The extremely shocked by the whole the idea that the men are allowed to fuck around and the women are not, and that the men are allowed to have multiple wives. That is the big shock, extremely big shock. And there's lots of assimilated, somewhat assimilated Muslims. So basically, say that is that they don't like polygamy. That they are argue they try to defend the Swedish view, which is monogamous. And then you see all the more radical Muslims who insist that they must have four wives and so on. And we are essentially very shocked because we have this first-hand experience, and also yeah, also Sweden is rational. Sweden is very secular. It is secular in the sense that you're supposed to be orderly. You're supposed to be rational to some extent. Swedes don't believe in God. Swedes believe in the state. Swedes believe in society, in law and order. They believe in rules, in law. They believe in emergency number. They believe in labor unions. They believe in companies. They believe in lawyers. They believe in science and medicine, and they believe in other people. And above everything else, Swedes believe in their relationship to other Swedes, their trust in the community. You don't steal because you don't steal. You don't pay your debt because you are forced to pay your debt. You pay your debt to other people because you want to pay debt. Uh, you are supposed to obey the law because you want to obey the law. Because Swedes like to be good. Because the whole fundamental idea is that you're good or duktig, which means that if you follow rules, if you want to follow rules, if you want to conform, to adjust to the framework, you want to do things according to the book, you want to do things according to what your boss or your labor union or whatever says, you want to be duktig, you want to be good. Not because you're stupid, because you think that if you that this makes you better than other people. It makes you better, more confident. It makes you more happy because you managed, you have proven your worth by being obedient to the social norm, by contributing. If you follow the rules, the Swede feels that will you will be useful. You have a meaning. Your life has a meaning if you follow the rules. The Swedish way of life. Then your life has a purpose. You have value. You contribute. And if you break the rules, and if you're selfish, then you don't have a meaning with your life. There's no purpose to live. Some more?
Yes, lots of state sponsored pressure to keep
Well,
a lid on a lot of things in Sweden.
yeah, but we are Germanic people. So I admire you English. I really admire you English for your individuality. But I feel, I would want some sort of balance. I would love some sort of balance. Um, between individuality and the collective. Because here's something like an ecosystem. I would like to have like a Swedish society with little bit more individualism, but when we still have this, when we voluntarily follow rules, where we still voluntarily try to fit says, how can I help the group? Okay, how can I contribute?
Yeah,
And so
overall, the general idea is that anarchy is absolute madness, whether it comes from the very
it
far
sure
left or
is.
the very far right. Wanting to sacrifice the entire world for idealism is cray cray and should be rejected very openly. What with talks about immigration to and from Britain, etc., we are fair. We're not. We're not going to start throwing people out over Brexit. However, when it comes to absolute authority over British laws, that's what we get back post the 31st. Not the EU dictating the laws anymore.
To be honest, I don't think that anyone are going to kick out all the migrants just like that. That brutal. So, but it's
Well, they're
more.
kind of dumping them in Greece. We say that now, right? But in 6 to 9 months' time, considering the fact that they're literally just dumping them all in Greece now, on islands that can't keep up with food supplies, etc., they're manufacturing another crisis in order
I
to open the floodgates again. Oh, there's 50,000 migrants stranded on XYZ ABC islands. They need immediate humanitarian aid and you to open your ports and homes. That's the next wave, I think.
I have never okay. I have never seen a high-level multicultural politician who wants his daughter to marry a Muslim. It's. But I agree with you. They are creating crises. That they're They are they have always done this. They have taken migrants, Muslims, and they make sure that they are suffering. So they say, look, they are suffering. They are dying somewhere. They are all locked in these. They're all sleeping on this town square, this island, or in Turkey, or at the border. You must therefore legalize mass migration. You must therefore accept them all into your country. But it's just fucking cheap. It's just slave labor. It's just slave labor and or a socialist slave population. It's just like raw material and so on. Like and no, no, these multiculturalists they don't care about culture. It doesn't exist for them. It's like old building doesn't exist. It's just about money, 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 money. Okay, rape is good for business, and it's like there was like some politicians said something like, "Oh, crime is basically good because it means that we are so popular." Don't you see? The reason crime happens is because cities are going so well, so they develop more crime. The more problem we have, the better the economy is going. That's basically the message you get over and over a lot. Yeah, crime happens because economy is going better, and therefore social inequality is increasing. Oh my god, it's so fucking retarded. The more problem, the worse it is. It's actually good for us. It is good for us to be murdered and burned and raped and everything. Oh my god.